We're going to go ahead and get started. So I'd like to call the school board meeting to order. All right, could you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay, do public hearings first.
Oh, sorry, they're public hearings. Never mind, we'll do that first. I didn't see them. I looked straight down my thing. Okay, sorry. I'd like to call to order the first public hearing. We have a public hearing for the proposed donation of $7,100 from the Byrne Foundation for Mount Leb School's book vending machine. Any additional information? This is a PTO project, I believe.
Yes, this is a PTO project to put a school book vending machine outside of the cafeteria.
So what happens with the vending machine?
I'm sorry?
What happens in a vending machine?
Students can earn tokens for books, and so they would use those tokens when they were doing something good as rewards, and then they can get a book out of the vending machine.
And then they keep the book?
They keep the book. Yep.
That's a nice thing.
Great. So we would like to thank the Byrne Foundation for their donation, and we will close this public hearing. We have a second public hearing to withdraw $2,264,738 from the Lebanon School District Capital Reserve Fund for building and renovations for the Mount Leb School project as approved by the board at the May 24th board meeting. Do we have any additional information on this?
This is just to sew up the Mount Leb project. The project was first approved in October 27th, 21, and those of you who were on the board then remember that we had a follow-up meeting on May 24th, where there was more money approved from cap reserve and there's other funding sources. But this is the dollar amount that needs to come out of the cap reserve to close that project out.
Okay. All right. Any additional information? All right, we will close that public hearing. Now, I will call to order the school board meeting, and could you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public comment will occur during the public comment portion of the meeting and will be done via raising your hand remotely or in person. During public comment, once acknowledged, please state your name and ward so that it can be included in the minutes. And please limit your time to 3 minutes. Public comment is governed by policy BEDH. Are there any additions or deletions from the agenda?
I'd like to remove number 5 student report. Nora Burns does not have a report from the high school this evening.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'd like to open the floor for public comment. Is there any public comment in the room? Is there any public comment on Zoom?
We do. Hold on.
Stephanie, if you'd like to make your comment. I think you need to unmute yourself. You've been...
Oh,
There we go.
did this work? Okay, this is Stephanie Yarosevich.
Hold on.
Okay.
Just 1 second. Our volume is low. We're going to pump up the volume, and then we'll get back to you in just a second. Stephanie, can you try again, please?
Yes, of course.
There you are.
There you go.
So go ahead and state your name and ward, and then you can proceed.
Okay, this is Stephanie Yarosevich, and I believe it's Ward 1. I'm just calling in and would like to make a comment to add to what Superintendent Allen said about the book vending machine. I am the PTO president for Mount Lebanon School, and I just want to talk about what a great initiative this is and how it will bring the school together with the tokens. And it's also going to be a nice tribute to someone that's retiring, our librarian. So I just want to put it out there about the support, and I hope you all will be in support of it when you do vote.
Appreciate that. Is there any other public comment on Zoom?
No other public comment.
Okay, so we will close public comment and reopen at the end of the meeting. All right, correspondence. Is there any correspondence?
There was none.
Okay, thank you. All right, we need a motion to approve the public hearing and public meeting minutes from February 14th, 2024.
I will make a motion to approve the public hearing minutes from Wednesday, February 14th, 2024.
Can I get a second? Mary? All right, motion by MJ, second by second by Mary. Are there any corrections to those minutes? No? Okay. Anyone? All right. All those in favor of approving the public hearing and public meeting minutes from February 15th? Okay, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 0, unanimous. And then we also need a motion to approve the, I'm going to separate them out, yes, the public minutes from February 17th.
No, well, let's do the regular
together.
board meeting. Let's stick with the 14th
Let's
first.
do the 14th, sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the Lebanon School Board minutes from Wednesday, February 14th, 2024.
Okay, and a second by Mary. All right, any additions or changes to those? Go ahead, MJ.
Okay, under number 6, under that first sentence, I think we just, MJ stated under 10C, it should read EC, not EIC. To her question on the, it should say high school program of studies, I think. Oh, we don't have it. And then I think under 6B, the sentence might read a little better. It was kind of confusing whether or not the school psychologist had resigned or was starting. So I think it might go a little better if we say, Tia had asked about the salary for the school psychologist that resigned, and then end that last sentence with, as this is a position that was hired mid-year.
Okay. Yeah, that's more clear. Thank you. Any other corrections to the public meeting minutes from February 14th? No? All right, all those in favor? Great, thank you. Pass 6 to 0. All right, moving on to the public minutes from February 17th.
Public minutes, or not?
We have public and then we went to non-public there.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the emergency public and non-public meeting minutes dated February 17th, 2024.
Okay, motion by MJ, second by Mary. Any additions or changes to those minutes? I think we do need to specify on the minutes here why it was an emergency, public and non-public. I think we just need to clarify why that was, which was a time-sensitive matter, and
Yeah.
we needed to make a decision right away. So we just need to specify that on there. Any other changes or additions? No? Okay. All those in favor of approving the emergency public and non-public meeting minutes as amended? Great, any opposed? None? All right, passed 6-0. Thank you. All right, moving on to approving nominations, renominations, and resignations and retirements. Can we get a motion for those?
I'll make a motion to approve the nominations and resignation sheet dated February 28th, 2024.
Okay, motion by MJ, can I get a second? Second by Mary? Thanks.
Go on, Mary.
All right, any questions about the nominations? Was a nomination approved during that non-public meeting for the interim middle school principal? Just for the information of people here. All right, that brings us on to new business, and we're going to start with a presentation from the music department.
Hello, my name is Dominic DeFrancisco. I'm the high school band director.
My name is Christian Terry. I'm the middle school band director.
And we're just here today to talk about the music program because March is Music in Our Schools Month. It is a program created by the National Association of Music Educators to recognize all of the awesome things that are going on in music rooms across the country, and that's coming up in a few days, and so we wanted to come share about all the awesome things that are happening in the music department here in Lebanon. We also have some special concerts coming up next week and in 2 weeks for grades 5 through 12. Our all-district band concert is next Wednesday at 7 p.m. at the Opera House. Our all-district jazz concert is next Thursday at 7 p.m. at the Opera House. And then our all-district choral concert is Thursday, March 14th at 7 p.m. at the Opera House. And those include students from the high school, from the middle school, as well as students from Plainfield and Grantham, all performing together. And so they're really, to me, they're the best concerts of the year because you get to see all of the students from their beginning up through the high schoolers. And then on March 27th, the middle school jazz band is going to be going down to the State House to perform outside for the senators, legislature, and the community in Concord. The students will get a tour of the State House afterwards, and this is part of a program by the New Hampshire Music Educators Association to just advocate and get our music programs in the public eye. And so, with that being said, there are 6 music teachers in the district. The other 4 are, unfortunately, they wanted to be here, but they are in Providence right now at the American Choral Directors Association conference, and they actually have some students down there with them who are going to be performing. But our elementary teachers, Mrs. Christine Greeno works at Mount Leb, Mrs. Catherine Beasley works at Hanover Street. At the middle school, we have Mrs. Yvette Garnham and Mr. Terry, of course. And then at the high school, working alongside me is Miss Emma Cook. And then the person who gets to all of the schools in the district and gets the loudest applause at some of our concerts is Mr. David Chaves, who is our accompanist for all the choirs. So, in the elementary music classroom, classes in K through 4 tend to focus on 3 areas of music: movement, tonal patterns, and rhythm. And some of the things that students are doing over these 5 years, they're playing Orff instruments, they're learning how to play recorder, they're doing drumming groups, they're learning ukulele, they're playing music games, they're learning folk dances, they're singing and exploring their voices, and there's also a big cultural appreciation component that they get to explore. And so we have some pictures of those as well. So these are from Mount Leb with Mrs. Greeno. There's some videos there from them performing and they have afternoon sings every Friday. But elementary music is very active. It takes a very high energy person to teach. And we have 2 of the best here. And then on the next slide, we have some pictures from Mrs. Beasley's classroom at Hanover Street. Of course, with some Orff instruments there, recorders, dancing, playing some ukulele, absolutely wonderful. And then the next kind of step in the musical journey for students is in grades 3 and 4, they can join chorus. And so both Hanover Street and Mount Leb have their own choral ensembles that perform at each school in the fall. They perform at assemblies and at other community events. And then every winter, actually just a month and a half ago, and then every spring, they combine and do a joint concert together. For Hanover Street, they have 61 students, 30 4th graders and 31 3rd graders, and that's limited by space, essentially. That's as many kids as she can fit in her room. For Mount Leb, they have roughly 60 students. I didn't get an exact number, unfortunately. But so it's combined at their last concert and at their concert they're going to have in June, they're going to have 120 3rd and 4th graders on stage singing. It's honestly, it's not something you want to miss. It's really great. And here's some pictures. The tie-dye shirts is from last June when they were singing. They perform every winter at the tree lighting at the Green. And then Mrs. Greeno took her chorus to a women's club dinner or luncheon and performed there. And then we're not going to watch the video because it's 20 minutes long, but that's the video of their June concert if you want to check it out. And that brings us to middle school.
Yeah. So a couple things about middle school music. It is grades 5 through 8, and every single grade takes a music class. And grade 5 serves more of as a continuation of what was already learned and taught in grades K through 4. Grade 6 begins to dive into more of instrument playing and sort of exploring what these instruments do and how to find their own musical voice. Grades 7 and 8, they are combined into music classes together, either playing guitar, keyboard, music technology, and looking at music from different cultures, as well as American music here in the United States. So here are some photos that we have, folks playing different instruments. The first one you see there on the left, they're playing what's called a doumbek, which is very popular within the Middle Eastern region. You have djembes, you have some circle games with 5th graders, some guitar playing. You can move on to the next. And then periodically, myself and Mrs. Garner, we do combine to play what's called modern band, where a lot of these instruments and music come together, and it's a very simple way for people to play music, and that's one of our core beliefs. Students playing music, doing music is one of our biggest things we do here at the middle school, getting them to explore music and just have a musical experience throughout. So talking a little bit about the chorus, students can sing in chorus throughout their time here at Lebanon Middle School. There are 3 different choral ensembles, about 110 participate in chorus, which is about 26% of our school population. The 3 groups are 5-6 chorus, 7-8 chorus, and Troublemakers, which is an auditioned ensemble that rehearses after school every Friday. The choirs meet twice a week for rehearsal, Tuesdays, Thursdays for 7-8, and then Wednesday, Friday for 5-6. And groups perform at regular concerts throughout the year, and Troublemakers do go on outreach tours, whether to elementary schools, to Grantham, and to other places in the community like the hospital they've done in the past and things like that. So here are some of the photos. Most are pretty up to date with this year. We had our concert here in December. You see some smiling faces and just joy throughout. And we're continuing on with some great photos. And talking a little bit about band, starting in 5th grade, students have the opportunity to learn a wind instrument. Some of these different ensembles here at Lebanon Middle School, you have the 5-6 band, which is about 15 students, which makes sense because a lot of the folks have the instrumental lessons first, and then they join the performing group. So it's a little low at the beginning, and then, of course, gets more and more as the year goes on. Grade 7-8 band, which is about 43 students, and a jazz band, which is an auditioned ensemble, which has about 24 students. All instrumental ensembles meet about twice a week, and grade 5 students, as I talked about, have individual or small group lessons with myself or Mrs. Gardam. Students do perform at regular concerts throughout the year, whether it's December, March, and May, and Jasmine does join the Troublemakers on several of their tours. So looking at some of the pictures here we have with band, some of them are collaboration between us and the Lebanon High School with our pep band collaboration. We also have some photos from concerts, as well as the bottom left photo, which is the Northern District, which every school in the northern part of New Hampshire come together. It's a auditioned ensemble where students can go and perform and collaborate with different schools and play with different musicians from around the northern part of the state. And some similar photos here. We had winter concert, and then the bottom photo is a summer music school or summer camp that we sent 2 students to this past summer, and they had an absolute blast. We had one student perform in an orchestra, another student play in a concert band, and they both auditioned, and were selected into the jazz band, which is throughout all New Hampshire. It's a really, really great program, and they've thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's definitely paying off for them this school year.
So, at the high school, music classes are electives that fulfill the fine arts requirement to graduate. So we offer a whole bunch of different things. So in terms of instrumental courses, we have introductory courses in guitar, in piano, ukulele, percussion, and then we also have a beginning band course for students that that maybe didn't get the chance to do band, or maybe it wasn't for them in 5th grade and they want to give it another shot. They can sign up and do beginning band at the high school. We have exploratory courses. Music and film is a really popular course. American pop music and the history of American pop music, music technology, music theory. We have AP music theory, music history, and then of course we have ensembles. And some of these, so band, chorus, and superlatives are all classes during this school day. String ensemble is a new class that we're hoping to finally get running next year. I'm going to advertise it a little bit better. And then jazz band and a cappella are after-school ensembles. Jazz band I run, and then a cappella is, Miss Cook advises it, but it's pretty much student-run, and they rehearse twice a week. In addition to that, Ms. Cook also teaches the drama classes, which include acting, stagecraft, and musical theater. So these are pictures from festivals. These are actually, we have some pictures from Disney, the Disney trip last year. We have some pictures from our awards night. We have the bottom right there is actually this past fall, we had 14 students audition for the New Hampshire All-State Festival. I'll talk about that more a little bit later on. And we can continue. So, chorus. So there are 2 vocal ensembles offered, and then as well as an after-school a cappella club. Chorus has 28 students, and it is open to anybody. Superlatives is an auditioned class, and it has 14 students in it currently. Both groups rehearse every single day during the school day, and they perform 3 to 4 times a year at our traditional concerts, at large group festival, or at graduation, just as things come up. A cappella meets 1 to 2 times a week after school for part of the year. That typically starts in like after our November concert traditionally, and then they perform at our spring concert. And then, so here's some pictures. The ones from the LHS gym are from our winter concert. And then we have some from the Opera House from the previous years. Ms. Cook is really good about bringing in clinicians, so that middle picture is actually 2 years old, but she brought in a guest from Plymouth State to talk to students about the all-state audition excerpt and to work with them on that. And then we have, again, pictures from large group, pictures from concert, and of course, bottom right, Mr. Chaves, our accompanist. There are 3 main instrumental ensembles at the high school. We have concert band, which rehearses every day in 2 separate periods, and performs 7 to 10 times a year-ish. That might be low. In concerts, parades, and festivals. In addition, those same students in the concert band also perform as the pep band, and that can range from, this year was a little bit lower because of the fall, but 8 to 15 times a year at games, assemblies, the traditional bonfire. And so, you know, there are students that are performing 25 times over the course of a school year if they do everything. Jazz band is after school. It's an auditioned ensemble. We rehearse once a week, and that performs 4 to 7 times throughout the year. We have our regular concerts, and we try to get out and visit other schools. Right before break, we performed in Hanover with Hanover and Hartford. We were supposed to go down to Keene and play with them at their concert in January, but unfortunately it got snowed out. And then we also play at the Underclassmen Awards in June to lighten that up. String ensemble is our newest ensemble, and that's something we're hoping to get running this coming school year. And then currently we have 53 students in band, and that's going to keep going up. These are pictures from pep band. We have pictures from our winter concert. The top right picture is a festival called All New England, which is hosted by Plymouth State. And students, I nominate students to perform in ensembles there. They create the rosters, and then they go spend the day rehearsing and do a concert after like 6 hours of rehearsal. We have some pictures of parades, some more pictures from the concert. We have a basketball picture from pep band. The bottom right, last spring, we commissioned a piece by composer Trevor Frost, and he came and did a residency for about a week leading up to the concert, and then he conducted at the concert as well, which was super cool for the kids. All right, and so we have some student speakers that are going to come up here. We have Winnie Rancourt, Charlie Swan, Arlo Hastings, Abigail Tremblay, and as they're coming up, we have some videos from some Mount Leb students as well.
My name is Winnie Rancourt. I go to school at Hanover Street. I like to play instruments.
Do you like Missy Beasley?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you, Winnie. Good job.
Hello, I'm Charlie. I'm an 8th grader here at LMS, as the slideshow says, so thank you for that. I started learning here in the 7th grade, and I'm really glad that I have like this music program here, because there are so many amazing things that I love about like this whole opportunity to learn all sorts of music here. There are like many, many amazing things like troublemakers, which gives me a big chance to express myself in ways other than musical theater. And chorus, which lets me hang out with all my friends and like get together and sing. And I love the All District concert because it's like everyone gets together too. I'm really glad that I have the opportunity to learn music here. Miss McGarm has been an amazing chorus teacher here. And thanks to Mr. Terry, I now know the very important knowledge of playing the Tetris theme on the piano. So thank you. Overall, I don't think I can just pick one favorite thing about the music program here, because like it's all amazing. I'm really grateful for it all, and I really can't wait to explore it at the high school. So.
Hi, my name is Arlo Hastings. I'm a junior at LHS. As you know, I've been asked to touch on my experience with the LHS music program. I've been involved with music since elementary school, playing various instruments, but focusing recently on bassoon. Most people only see the final product of the music program, the concerts, pep band games, theater performances, but they don't understand the work and dedication that goes into those by the students, and also by Ms. Cook and Mr. DeFrancisco. No one sees the funny moments in rehearsal, or the times we sound really bad when we sight read, or the late night dance rehearsals in the music room where we're all tripping over our feet. But that's the fun of learning and growing together. In every other class, my final outcome is what I put into it solely. It is individualistic, but not with music. It is a team effort to produce beautiful music, something that not everyone recognizes as a crucial life skill. Because of this embedded group effort, there's a natural built-in community that is open to all and fosters everyone's mutual goals, whether they be music related or not. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Abigail Tremblay. I'm a sophomore at LHS, and I've been playing the saxophone for 6 years plus musical theater since 5th grade. Being a part of the Lebanon Band for most of my life was one of the best things to ever happen to me and many of my friends. It let me challenge myself and have control over a consistent practice in my life. Not only is music a passion of mine and many others, but it also forms a safe space open to anyone. Although conflicted with the problems when I was young, through my journey, Mr. Terry and eventually Mr. D and Miss Cook have made sure I've gotten both what I needed and have made me proud of all I've done. Supporting our music program will lead to both educational development and the continuation of community and passion at Lebanon High School. Thank you.
And then we have from Mount Leb, Adriana and Janelle have some stuff to share as well.
Hi, my name's Adriana from Mount Leb. I'm in 4th grade. Music makes me feel calm and I get distracted from it. And I love music because it makes me confident, and without my violin, it really makes me help my confidence to be on stage or in play. So, yeah.
Hi, my name is Janelle, and I go to Mount Leb in 4th grade. I love music because it brings out my confidence when I go on stage, and I also love to sing, and I love the program of the chorus since we get to go like on field trips.
So this past year, we have some big achievements from our students. So right now, not right now. In April, we have 6 elementary students, 3 from each school, that are going to be performing at the New Hampshire Music Educators Elementary Honors Choir, which is happening. That performance is actually the Friday right before April break in Concord at the Grapponi Center. At the middle school, we have 4 students that are with Mrs. Gardner right now in Providence, Rhode Island, to perform and represent the middle school at the American Choral Directors Association Honors Choir. We have 1 student that was selected for the New Hampshire Middle School Honors Band, and then 5 band students and 11 chorus students will participate in the New Hampshire Northern District Festival in April? May. And then at the high school, we had 1 student selected into the New Hampshire Jazz All-State Festival. We have 7 students that will be performing at the Classical All-State Festival in April. We had 1 student that is down in Providence with Miss Cook to perform at the ACDA Honors Choir. We had 8 choral students participate in the All New England Choral Festival, and we had 10 students that participated in the All New England Band Festival, both of which were at Plymouth State. And then in terms of alumni, and this is as far as we know, because both of us are fairly new to the district, but we have 1 alum currently studying music ed. We have an alumni who is an opera major, and they are studying to get their graduate degree at the University of Cincinnati. We have 2 alum who have written and recorded music as professional musicians. At least, as far as I can tell, at least 2 alum are currently teaching music. One of them is in Goffstown, and the other is, I don't know where the other one is. And then there is a large body of alumni from Lebanon that live in the area and make music. If you go to any of these groups, you'll meet them. They participate in the Upper Valley Community Band. Some of them are in the Upper Valley Orchestra that's rehearsing down the hall in a couple minutes. There's various vocal groups in the area, which there's a lot of that have Lebanon alumni in them. And then in pit orchestras, for all of the musicals that are happening, there's a lot of alumni that are playing in those, including in the upcoming musical that LHS is putting on. And then we also continue to hear from alumni that are performing and making music while they're in college. I keep getting emails about their concerts that are coming up, inviting me to them. And so, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for letting us present. And we hope you can make it to one of our concerts coming up in the next 2 weeks.
Thanks. Does anyone have any questions for you all before you sit down? Jessica has a question. Go ahead.
I have a comment, actually,
Yes.
which is that I have 2 kids who are in the preschool program at Mount Lebanon School, and every day when I pick them up and I say, "What did you do at school today?" they say, "I have no idea." And every day.
Yeah.
Except for on one occasion recently, they said there was a concert and the big kids performed, and they were very excited about it, and I heard all about it. And the same thing happened at a sports game where there was a band playing, and whatever the sport was, they were completely uninterested. The band was deeply fascinating. And I think that I just feel like you guys there's been some effort to bring the really little kids in to be a very eager audience for a lot of the bigger kids, and it works really well. So
Thank you.
How is the new Opera House?
I actually haven't been in it yet. My first impression is going to be when I go see Legally Blonde this weekend. We have a bunch of students performing in it with NCCT. And then we'll be in it next week, and I'll let you know.
Any other comments? Thank you all so much, and thank you to the students who came. We appreciate your voices. It's good to hear from you. Thanks. Okay, we'll move on to the SAU leadership team, the superintendent's update.
Sure, thank you. I am going to pass out a proposed timeline for the hiring of the Lebanon Middle School permanent principal. So by March 8th, we will select a hiring committee. We're going to form this hiring committee per the Lebanon School District SAU Administrative Hiring Protocols that are located on our school website. I just wanted to note the committee will be slightly larger than usual so we can ensure representation from various stakeholders such as teachers, parents, administrators, and community members. The following week, we'll have reviewed qualified applicants. We will provide the hiring committee with the list of those applicants, and then we're going to convene to determine which candidates will proceed to the interview stages.
At this point, I'm projecting the interviews to be held on March 27th and March 28th. And then the week of April 1st through the 5th, the final selection engagement process. So we hope to bring finalists to participate in the building tours, small group interviews with faculty and parent forums. And we will get feedback to the hiring committee. And then I will present the final candidate recommendation to the school board at our April 17th meeting. And hopefully we will have a permanent candidate. So this is just my draft thoughts at this point. I'm hoping I get the nod to go ahead, and then we can have discussions about members on this committee who would like to serve on that hiring committee.
Are there any questions about the timeline? No? Okay, and we do need to decide which board members will be on this committee. We do know that some of our board members will have conflicts of interest because of some of the people who are applying for these positions. So we might just need to email about that and chat. So just won't decide tonight, but it'll be decided before the 8th.
Yep, and since I think our next board meeting is it March 20th? 20th. We'll email and I can, we'll have the committee set so people will know and be able to have this posted as a transparent process. So if you folks are okay with this, I'd like to be able to kind of announce this and share this out publicly. And I have had several parents and teachers and community members who are interested in serving on this committee.
Yeah, I think is everyone in agreement that we can go ahead and move forward? Okay, great. Yeah.
Thank you.
The official nod.
Wonderful. That is all I have.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the DDECIA update.
Boldly attempt to stand this time just for something new and different. I'm Karen, the District Director of Equity and Curriculum. I have a brief update for you about our ELA Curriculum Resource Adoption Committee, but before I get to that, I wanted to share some happy news. We learned that New Hampshire was the state ranking the highest in the percentage of students taking the AP who achieve a passing score. And Lebanon is well above the New Hampshire average, so that really puts us in a great position. We should be really proud of our students and teachers who work so hard in our AP classes. We have a terrific rate of students, about 88% achieve a passing score in the AP. So I just wanted to share that good news. It's in the Lebanon Times, should you take a look. The purpose of me bringing this brief update to you today is both to celebrate the hard work of the ELA Resource Adoption Committee, remind you that this is going on, and just give you an opportunity to ask any questions you might have about our pilot that we're bringing forth in Phase 1 this spring. So to remind you, this is really focused on our K-4 elementary school program. The need is rooted in some shifts in requirements that we anticipate will come through the state legislature and guidance from the NHED. We really need to be moving towards a curriculum that aligns to research and evidence-based best practices and the science of reading. It also dovetails with identified need from our teachers and our families in our community and some data around student performance. Broadly speaking, when we in elementary think about English and language arts curricula, we think about it in two big categories. Foundational skills and word recognition is really, to grossly oversimplify it, reading the words off the page. And the other big bucket is language comprehension and knowledge building. So those are sort of the two big pieces. As you can imagine, the first piece, word recognition skills, is the bulk of our instruction in K1 and 2, and the balance gradually shifts towards comprehension and knowledge building, although we do attend to both of those big buckets throughout our K-4 experience and beyond. So just with that context, because it will inform how you look at this, we had provided you with a timeline earlier, and here it is again. We are at a stage now where we have identified some programs that we anticipate bringing forth to the board. They'll come before the EC next week in the area of foundational skills and word recognition. So we've identified programs we'd like to recommend for adoption, and you'll be hearing more about that in detail next month. We've identified 2 programs in the area of language comprehension and knowledge building that we'd like to begin to pilot this spring and then continue with a more comprehensive and robust pilot through the next school year. So that's really the piece that I'm letting you know about today. We're going to begin that pilot this spring in part to leverage some ESSER funds, grant funding that's available for, that's related to COVID learning loss, to get those materials and instructional practices in front of our students as soon as possible, and have some of that data come back to us a little bit earlier so that we can hone and target our pilot, our comprehensive pilot for next year. I'm just going to pause and see if you have any questions already. Sure. Jessica.
This is a really stupid question, but
I'm sure it's not.
I'm sure you'll have a very answer that will answer what I'm wondering about. When we talk in these conversations about curriculum adoption, we talk about purchasing materials for students and stuff like that. What are we talking about? What can you like give me some for instance?
Sure, I absolutely can. And let me be a little bit more precise in my own language. So what we're really doing here is identifying resources, not necessarily the curriculum. So the resource will help us, it will drive our curriculum towards a more cohesive scope and sequence of skills and instructional practices. And the teachers will have a go-to resource that we expect and anticipate them that they will use as their primary teaching tool. What is that resource? For word recognition and foundational skills, that resource is usually a teaching manual or guide with a sequence of phonics-based skills around the structure of language. It also then includes, for our youngest kids, things like magnet tiles and letter boards to allow them to manipulate phonemes and graphemes, which are the parts of our language that they need to understand in order to be able to read. Decodable texts, which are books that have controlled text for the skills that we're instructing them on. And then as they progress forward, it would also include rich literature with a high level of text complexity. So we're buying, usually, teacher tools and guidebooks, and then a bunch of student materials that are, majority of them are books. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Thank you.
Any other questions for Karen while she pauses?
I think I'm actually mostly done. I wanted to keep this brief. My intent in coming before you tonight is to just let you know that you'll hear a detailed proposal about one of these domains at the end of the month next month, but also most importantly to let you know that we're moving forward with this pilot in the other domain, and we anticipate sharing more information with you about that later in the spring and into next year, including important things like cost projections.
Any other questions or comments? Right, helpful.
I think maybe the only, so while we're in the process of identifying these new resources and stuff like that, what are we doing to prevent any further loss with the resources that we currently have?
That's a great question. If you look at the itty bitty print that this timeline printed in, hiding in there is grant-funded decodable text purchases in the fall of this past fall. We've made all of those text purchases and the decodable texts are in classrooms. I'm happy to say a lot of our educators engaged in the letters training that the state was offering or are engaged in it now. Some of the others who aren't able to do that joined me for some professional learning last summer, and those teachers are many of them are using this resource that we anticipate bringing forth for your approval already in a pilot manner this year. So we feel that's one of the reasons we were drawn to adopt this UFly text, is that a lot of this is in play right now already, happily, in our district this year. So we feel really good about that. We just need to make sure that we have an articulated pathway so that as new faculty come on board, we are able to share in a really clear and coherent way, this is what we expect of you and what we hope you'll teach with. So I'm not too worried.
Okay.
I think we're on the right trajectory, and our students are getting what they need this year. Hi, MJ.
So is the pilot program in the past, I know with some of the other reading ones, only certain groups of students or certain teachers used the new program as part of the pilot. Is the pilot program going to be used across all teachers now, or is there going to be like a control group that will still be using the old program as well?
That's a great question. So this spring, it's a light pilot, so we're really asking just volunteer teachers to implement a single unit from these resources, again, in the language comprehension knowledge building domain. So that will only be select classrooms on a volunteer basis. For the fall, we haven't precisely identified, frankly, exactly how many classrooms we can onboard into the pilot. It will hinge in part on whether we decide to pilot both of our candidate programs, or if by the end of this spring we've narrowed it down to really just one. So that's a long way of saying it will still likely not be all of our classrooms, but I do want to state again, in the foundational skills and word recognition, we won't be piloting, we'll be adopting and implementing. So that piece, which is really our biggest area of need right now, that will be everybody, whole hog, in the fall.
Both elementary schools.
Both elementary schools, everyone's on the train, so to speak.
This is sort of a broad question, and it's got a few parts to it. So I don't think this is I think you're going to have a good answer, but I just these words have come up a bunch of times, not just here, but like also in the news and everything. The research and evidence-based best practices, the science of reading.
Yep.
Sounds great. Also, I'm real curious about what we were doing before, if it wasn't research and evidence-based best practices and the science of reading. So I just, if you can help, if you can sort of, I would, but and so it would be helpful to have someone who has thought about this a lot articulate perhaps what the change is that we're talking about here and that is being talked about broadly. And I think my corollary to that is my understanding is that there's been a real sea change, or there was a sea change happening where we were talking about teaching reading with context and just having kids figure out that that's an elephant on the paper and then say the word elephant, and now we're going back to sort of more of a phonics-based approach or something. You don't need to address that specifically, but my understanding is probably attached to this other question I've had. So I will now stop talking.
Well, I don't even think you need to stop talking, because you really answered your own question. It's a complicated answer, but you've neatly summed it up. When I was growing up as a teacher, so to speak, in the earlier part of my career, our understanding of how students read at the time was well-intentioned, but we now know incorrect. And it relied heavily on context to determine what the words were on the page. We now understand only weak or poor readers rely on context to determine what the words are. Fluent readers use phonics skills and what we call, in the business, decoding. So we now understand much more about how all brains learn to read, and we can teach with that in mind. A thing that I've thought about doing is holding perhaps in the half hour before a board meeting, so it's entirely optional for those of you who don't need this knowledge, as sort of a free information session for parents or families or you all fine folks to understand why this shift is happening. It's actually something that's my area of expertise, so I'd love to tell you about it, but it's kind of a long answer.
I have a question.
Not so much with the context is the short answer.
And so that's
that's the foundational skill shift.
That's what we're calling the science of reading now, is just that we're sort of saying like, oh, we get it now. This was a not great way to do it. We're going back to the way that we understand now is a better way to do it.
Yes, and I'll add, that's really the foundational skills piece, the part that we're going to ask you to approve next month. There is another important component to the science of reading, which is that knowledge building, vocabulary building, comprehension piece. We also know more about how to do that better, and it really is rooted in access to high rigor texts and content for all students. So we no longer want to keep our students who struggle in reading in low rigor texts, because we understand that shackles them to less rigorous language. So we have strategies for providing those on-ramps to access for all. That's a big shift, and that's the other piece of the puzzle.
So that, I just want to follow up on that, because this ties back into had the book vending machine, which sounds so great, and like what a wonderful program, and what a great way to get material the kids are excited about. That sounds so fabulous, and I'm so excited that the PTO at the Mount Lebanon School made that happen. It's also modestly sad that it's only at one of our elementary schools, and that to the extent that we are aware of how important it is for kids to be getting material that they connect to and how much that helps them, it would be so great if we had a way to support the implementation of what sounds like a really great program at our other elementary school. So just as we're all thinking about all of those things.
I think Tia had a question.
I did. So you talked about the decoding piece, and with spellography, there is also an encoding piece?
There is.
Okay, yep.
So one of the biggest, so encoding is the teacher word for writing, right? So the development of literacy skills is writing and reading, fist and glove. And one of the things that I'm particularly proud of this committee for looking at in detail was the encoding piece really does mostly come in tandem with the language comprehension piece. So we're piloting 2 programs, Wit and Wisdom and Fish Tank ELA. One of the central criteria in honing what was we looked in detail at over 20 programs, and that was after culling from a list of over 50 to ones that we felt were aligned to the science of reading. To get down to these 2, looking for high rigor writing that was well aligned to standards was one of the key factors. So both of these programs we feel really confident embed all 3 central domains of writing into the work of the students in an integrated way.
That's
and they
great.
play
So
nicely
it's-
with science and social studies too.
Yeah, and
Those
so
are
it's
big
well-rounded
criteria.
also. No, that's all I was gonna say. It's just well-rounded, that it can look at both the decoding, encoding, different skills, but
Yep.
both just as important for fluency and education, right?
Yeah. You guys are going to get so sick of hearing about this from me, so maybe I will hold an information session to answer the
I'm very excited
more kind
about
of detailed questions, but I just wanted to make sure that you were aware this is happening. We want to lean into transparency with this process because we're asking a lot of our elementary educators with a new math program this year and new foundational skills next year and a new language comprehension knowledge building program in tandem with all of that. This is a heavy lift, so we want to make sure everyone knows what we're doing.
I have a quick question about what are we doing to assist through professional development or whatever our reading specialists, and our elementary reading specialists, to be able to sort of adjust whatever they need to adjust. Not that I think they need to adjust things, but to be able to have their practice match what's happening in the classroom.
They are doing a great job. All of them are very well trained in these domains. So this sort of new news that feels like new news to some of us isn't really new to most of them. I'm happy to say they're all very well trained in these research-based best practices. They're also engaging in the same professional learning alongside their colleagues, and they've been really instrumental in implementing new assessment systems this year per some requirements from the state that are helping us identify students who have additional skill gaps that we need to backfill. So that's really where they've come in. And we are offering professional learning as much as we can to teachers so that they can know what they need to know.
So my question is, maybe especially for the middle school group that have gone through using the old methods.
Yeah.
How are we supporting, now that we know that there's potential gaps for them?
Yep.
Even if they're successful students generally, are we looking for ways to backfill some of that information in that age group?
Yep. I'm so glad you asked. We secured some grant funding to send a lot of our special educators through the middles, including those that work at the middle school, and reading specialists if they're interested, to Orton-Gillingham training, which is what we would really recommend for students who need significant remediation with reading fluency, which is the biggest cause of reading comprehension difficulty in the middle and high school years. It's actually a fluency problem almost always. So we're hoping that that training can begin next year and take place during the course of the school year. We're getting that, Karen Woolsey's helping to get that together now. And in addition to that, we do have a reading specialist opening, and if you read the job posting, it specifically requests that candidates have skills in those particular remediation areas. There's a whole bunch of them, but OG, Orton Gillingham, Wilson, that sort of family of training. So that's really going to become what we hope will become a hiring expectation going forward for those positions as well.
And how does adopting this curriculum K through 4 affect the middle school curriculum? Because they'll eventually, so will it change some of what they're going to be doing?
That's a great question. That's
to be determined.
Up next. We hope it'll, you know, eventually pay off for them. And at the moment, their ELA curriculum doesn't demonstrate quite as many gaps between, the existing program that we have, ARC, actually is a reasonable knowledge building program in the upper elementary and into middle school grades. It does get high marks for that. So keeping that in place through 6th grade right now in 5th and 6th is not problematic from the point of view of alignment to best practices. Might we eventually make some shifts? Yes, but it's not a pressing need at the moment. Although we did look at that carefully before starting this.
So perfect. Thank you.
Any other comments for Karen? All right.
Curious how
Yes.
you determine if it's having the desired impact.
That's a great question. We're going to look at, so some of the metrics that we were looking at in identifying areas of need were our statewide testing scores, which are, as you know, reliably above state averages. We do really, really well. But if you drill down into them, some of the growth metrics in ELA actually lag behind our growth metrics in math. So that's one key indicator that we're going to be looking at. We're blessed with having some building leaders at the elementary level who are really data savvy leaders. So they are also good at drilling down at the cohort level. So I think that's a broad answer, I hope, but data is going to be the answer.
Okay, anything else for Karen? All right, thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Sorry
Really
this took an
appreciate it.
extra minute, but I'm glad you asked the question.
Thank you. All right, moving on to unfinished business. So we have some second readings, but I gather that we're going to make some changes to our second reading list.
We are.
Okay.
So to start with, so in my process of prep tonight, I thought I'd be more thorough and, you know, pull out the policies from policy committee, double check that, you know, so that if you guys had questions, I would be able to be more than like fumbling around. And in that process, I discovered a few things. So with the second readings, A and B, so EEAA and JICC, what we should have had in our packet for first reading was actually the New Hampshire School Board Association's version, and what we got was our current version. So we're going to pull those two out and send those two back for first reading with the New Hampshire School Board Association version. So we'll start the process over with the right version. And then D, policy ECA, that policy, from what I can gather, was reviewed by policy committee, so I think we can actually pull that out because it's all set there where we didn't make any revisions to that. So in the unfinished business category, C, which is policy DBJ, E, which is DJE, F, which is DJER, and policy G, which is EBB, those are all fine to adopt or withdraw. F is to withdraw. Are we
Okay.
all on the same page?
Does that make sense? So can you make a motion?
Yes, I just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure that we
that's
were.
right. I think we're on the page, but just let's make a motion so that we
Okay.
know what we're. Oops.
So I'm going to make, the first motion will be to table policies EEAA and JICC and send that back for first reading at our next full board meeting.
Okay, and can I get a second for that? Tia, seconds? All right. Any additional discussion? No, thank you for catching that. Appreciate that. All those in favor? Okay, great, unanimous.
So I'll make a motion to pull policy ECA out of our list because it's already been reviewed.
Okay, can I get a second for that? Tia? All right, any objections?
I have a question.
Yes.
So you said you didn't make any changes, so I'm just curious on that third paragraph. It reads, access to school buildings and grounds outside of regular school hours would be limited to school personnel whose work, so how did you discuss what grounds were? Because I'm just thinking people access the playgrounds all the time, they go run on the track, community members do, so I just didn't know what context you were looking at in terms of grounds in this policy.
I think we didn't, right here. She's about the grounds. I think, we didn't specifically ask the question about, it's not something that this committee, the policy committee, sort of, because it was what we had in place and it was more current than the New Hampshire School Board, we assumed somebody somewhere made that determination, so we didn't,
Yeah.
we didn't ask any further.
So just, yeah, because I mean, the way it's written to me, it almost sounds like all the playgrounds and the track are off limits if school's not in session, which obviously it's impractical to be able to lock down all of the grounds. I understand completely on the buildings being inaccessible, but the grounds are kind of more seen as public spaces, I think, in the community, so.
It's true, don't, a lot of people use the track to
Yeah,
run in.
and the playgrounds.
And the playgrounds.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming that we can't, I mean, there are spaces that we can't actually physically prevent people from being. So.
Right, so that's why I think why it should, I think ground should be taken out of the access for, because it sounds like it's trying to keep things secure, but we're not necessarily keeping our grounds secure. and
Yeah,
all
but we
that.
might, with some of the other,
Tim, like what, some of our areas are locked and not accessible.
Well, I was just trying to think what would be, and I mean, I don't know if anything at Mount Leb is, but at the high school Hanover Street campus, you can use, some of us may have used the softball field or the baseball field before. Like there's, even though there's fences around it, there's no gates that are locked or anything. So I actually don't think that we can prevent someone from using the grounds in Hanover Street in high school. Or
Like-
here, yeah.
but if they access them after, is it a different liability? Like, so if we state in our policy that.
Use at your own risk, sort of piece.
Yeah.
I mean, so if we leave it in there, then the liability.
That's true. I mean, I
I
haven't
would
flown
think
by an insurance
shifts.
company, but that's true. Like, if you use the playground and you fall off and it's 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, it's not the school's problem. Yeah. So that's true. I mean, with this policy saying this, it's not necessarily saying that we're going to police it, but it's going to say that the
Our
board doesn't
liability
authorize it.
stops.
Yeah, I guess I read this as actually being good to be in here and not a good thing to remove because we see it as extraneous, because it actually, just because we don't like put a chain link fence around everything when we aren't open doesn't mean that we are explicitly authorizing people to be using the equipment. And I think that so I would be very much, I would far rather have this in here and have there be some kind of a challenge to that than remove it. I think removing it is actually a much greater risk than leaving it as it is.
It kind of gives implicit intent if we remove it.
Yeah.
I mean, approval.
Yeah.
It's true.
And I guess one of our main fundraising campaigns for the track, though, was that it was a community resource and everyone used it off hours. So I guess I have a little hard time reconciling that, but.
I mean, I think those gray areas exist, and they are gray areas, and if you have a problem, then gray areas are the reason that things, like you have conversations and we have lawyers and stuff. But I think this to me strikes me very cleanly as something that's a bigger problem if you pull it out than if you leave it.
So the motion is to withdraw it because it's
Or withdraw,
accepted.
or just, yeah.
Withdraw it from tonight and accept it as written.
Because it's gone through the process of.
So we can vote on that motion. And so all those in favor of withdrawing it from the list because it's gone through the process, raise your hands. Okay, all those opposed? Okay, so MJ opposed, the rest of us in favor, so it moves on, moves back off of the list. All right,
So, I'll make a motion to withdraw policy listed under F, DJER.
okay. Motion to withdraw policy DJER, second, Tia, thank you. Any additional discussion of this one? This
And
is
that's the one we're just moving to a policy and procedural.
procedure as opposed to policy, yeah. Okay. That one, Tim, if it goes to become a procedure, it needs to be grammatically cleaned up at the time. Just FYI. But I think she got rid of it because it was a withdrawn policy, so. Anyway, all right. All those in favor of withdrawing policy DJER and, raise your hands. Okay, unanimous, excellent.
I'll make a motion to adopt policy DBJ, DJE, and EBB.
Is it adopt or adopt?
It's adopt because they're second readings.
I thought adopt meant it was new and approved.
I mean, we can.
Approve.
I thought
We can-
adopt is used for brand new policy.
Oh, I don't know.
I
which
don't
is
know that
which,
I've
though.
ever.
I don't know that I've ever, I don't know if we made a distinction, but we'll just say approve, just for the purposes of this. It'll cover us either way. All right, they've all been revised in some form or other. All right, motion to approve those three policies. Can I get a second? Tia, thank you. Any additional discussion on those three? No? Okay, all those in favor? Great, thank you very much. All right, that moves us to new business.
Okay. So I think the only change as far as policy goes that I found, policy listed under C, EEAB, I think we just need to double check that. I feel like in our notes, we say that we tabled it because I think we wanted Tim
and Paula did provide feedback for that.
So we need to pull that out of this group.
Okay. And
for
send it back for,
consideration.
first reading?
No, I think that one, until we have Tim and Paula.
They
so-
did, and their note, it's reflected, I believe they had changed it according to
So what
Lori.
we have now is what they changed?
Yeah.
Are we sure about that?
Nope.
That's what I wasn't sure either, so I was like, that was the least
I was,
clear.
yeah, I was told that today, that Tim and Paula's
So then that should go,
comments were in here, but
So that should go back to policy.
policy.
Yeah.
I provided comments, but I don't know if they're in here yet.
Okay.
Okay.
it didn't look like there were revisions from the New Hampshire School Board Association
Okay,
one,
so
so.
I'm comfortable moving that back to,
Policy.
yes.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to move policy or to remove policy EEAB from the list of consideration tonight.
Okay. Second by Tia, thank you. Any additional, Kevin, you have a question? Oh, no, he's ready to vote. All those in favor, including Kevin?
I said
All right.
EEAB, right?
Yes,
Okay.
EEAB, right. Okay,
Okay,
next.
so I will make a motion to move the following policies for a second reading. IJL, IJLR, EEAER, EEAG, JICCR, KF, and KFR.
All right, motion to remove all those to second reading, seconded by Tia. Any additional questions or discussion about these?
So on policy EEAG, there was one edit that didn't get made, and that was when it was talking about state inspections. We were going to just leave the language general to be state inspection and not qualified as New Hampshire.
Yep.
I think that was the only edit that I caught quickly that didn't get.
Any other comments on these? I have like a gazillion CCR, which is called the School Bus Safety Program.
Yep.
Safety guidelines for parents and guardians of students using school buses.
Yep.
Multiple times in that policy, it talks about walking to school. So I think we just need to take off that first part of the first school bus safety program. Like, that should not be part of the title of this. And we can say that it's safety guidelines for parents and guardians of students using school buses and walking to schools, because that's really what the policy is about. And then there is a separate.
Was it to walking to school or to the school bus?
No, it was walking to school. So there were, I clarified that because I wasn't sure. There's one point where it's walking to the school bus stop, 2 points where it's walking to the school bus stop, and then 3 points where it's walking to school. So I think it's talking about, if we look on, so 6 is where they're talking about to and from the bus stop, and then on
5 is the one that talks about.
Right. 5 is where they're talking about going to school, entering abandoned houses or deserted facilities by children on their way to or from school should not be condoned. There's another section, when a child walks, this is in 4, when a child walks to and from the bus stop and while they wait at the school bus stop, and when they walk home from the school bus stop, and, oh, sorry, that's bus stop. There's another one when they're talking about walking to school, which is, where is it? Yes, on number 8, on the back page, the last sentence. If the weather is inclement, which, by the way, is terrible, the child should be dressed for the occasion and leave a few minutes earlier than the normal starting time in order to reach the school bus stop or school safely on time.
Okay.
So we go back and forth. So I just think we just need to call it, it's for school buses and walking. So.
And I think that
Safety guidelines for parents and guardians for students using school buses and walking to school.
And the intention of this policy, we already dealt with policy EEAE May of 2023. So what the intention of this policy is to create a standard statement that we can put in handbooks. Is really the purpose of this one.
That makes sense.
So it's optional, so we can retitle it however.
Great. One, not a grammatical point, but on JICCR, which is the student conduct on school buses, we refer to 3 different places. We refer to the student code of conduct, but we don't call it that anymore. We just passed the policy the last time that doesn't follow the student code of conduct. So I just circled those. So we just need to refer back to they're called something else now. But I couldn't remember. Expectations
of
for
standards of
yes,
behavior.
It's a very long name instead of student code of conduct. And I think that was all of my that were not grammatical questions. Oh, and I did want to say about policy IJL, that this policy as we have in front of us is much improved from the version that we got before. That I just want to thank the librarians and Karen and the lawyers for really following the ALA guidelines and for making a policy that I feel like we can stand behind easily and that is easily implementable, which is probably even more important. So just wanted to note that hard work.
So so we had an IJL in the packet, but then we got a separate handout. So is this one different than the one that we read in the packet?
Yeah, so the one that you got today, I had caught Karen earlier. We ran into each other at Hanover Street School, and there was, I'll tell you that there were 3 quick changes that I asked to clarify because I didn't want us to, and I will tell you what they are as soon as I get to them. On page, one was on page 1, part C2. It said, we talked about libraries, and then it also says the media center, and so I was just like, well, are we a library or a media center? Let's just be clear. And so we actually use both library/media center, so she just changed that, which was great. The other is on page, whatever, on B, part 3, B6. No, part 3, B8. Yeah?
You're doing a big deal.
2 pieces and part 3. Oh, 5 and 8.
Part 3B8 specifies only one library material may be challenged at a time, at any one time in the school district, and then we just added in this second version Challenges will be addressed through this review process in the order in which they are received by the superintendent of schools. So if we were to get more than one challenge, we're going to deal with one, then we're going to start the process with the next one, et cetera.
Okay, yeah, because I was a little confused by that.
Yeah.
If I thought it was maybe only one person could challenge one at a time, what happened if someone completely unrelated wanted to challenge?
So if you submit one book challenge and you submit one, whoever gets the paperwork in first, we go with yours.
First in queue, I get it.
Right.
Good.
First in the queue, then
So
the
that
next
was
one.
the-
And then there was another little word added around if the paperwork's deemed incomplete, the person will be notified and won't advance to the superintendent and thereafter through the process. Those are the only 3 minor additions.
But the rest of it was, there were not big.
Yeah, I was looking at them. Yeah,
They were not big changes, they were tiny little bells. Any other questions, changes, comments about any of these in the current motion to move them into second reading? Okay, all those in favor of moving the bulk of those policies to second readings?
Arms, legs, feet.
Yes. All of
I wanna
them?
see 'em
Okay,
again.
good job. Okay, excellent. Moving on. Okay, so we have discussion and action. We're going to approve the donation of $7,100 from the Byrne Foundation for the Mount Lebanon School's book vending machine. First, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the donation of $7,100 from the Byrne Foundation for the Mount Lebanon School book vending machine.
And can I get a second? Okay, motion by MJ, second by Mary. And I wanted to reply back to Jessica's earlier point. I think that, as far as I know, Hanover Street is also in the process of writing a grant for this as well. So Mount Lev is just quicker at doing it. This is something we saw at Grantham Village School has this already, and we talked about it at the district PTO meeting. And everyone was very excited and made efforts to make it happen. So I think it's just a later priority. But yeah, we're very grateful to the Byrne Foundation for approving these, because who knew that these machines were as expensive as they are? So it's great that they are supporting this. Any other comments on that? All right, all those in favor of accepting the donation? Great, thank you. And once again, just overarching gratitude to the Byrne Foundation for their continued support of the Lebanon School District. All right, committee updates, finance and facilities. Next meeting will be determined. Most likely it's going to be after the elections, correct? Finance and yeah. Okay. Policy committee met Monday. I think we've heard all the things. Do you have anything else you want to tell us?
Nope.
Okay. Their next meeting is Monday, March 18th at 8:15 a.m. in the SAU office. EC Education Committee will be meeting next Monday, March 4th at 4 p.m. at the SAU office, getting one in before the elections. PNN, so PNN, we were talking about having another meeting to discuss the things. I think it's actually more important that we have the newly formed committee and then have that meeting, so we only have to have that once. So we'll probably meet shortly after the elections for PNN, and there will be negotiations coming up this next year. Student Wellness Advisory Committee, their next meeting is Wednesday, May 8th at 3:30 at the SAU office. HACTC's next meeting is Tuesday, March 19th at 10 a.m. at HACTC. The area committee met last night, Tuesday. Is there anything to report on that?
We shared our calendar, we discussed budgets across there.
We look like the heroes in our budget compared to the other districts, just so you know, by a lot.
We had the biggest attendance there, so
We
there
did
was
have
one Plainfield board member. There was not Grantham. So Grantham is onboarding their new superintendent, Lisa Walker. She was a former superintendent from Monadnock. I anticipate her probably being introduced to the area in the next couple months. And they did set our next meeting for May 14th, and it will be, we are hosting this time, so.
Okay. Also at LMS. All right. School District City Task Force, do we know when their next meeting has not been? I don't know. All right.
It's a mystery.
We'll wait to hear more about that. All right. Future agenda items, board member recommendations or questions?
I just have a question on that. So we had the public hearing on the capital reserve. Did Tim say we already approved to take it out of capital reserve, so we don't have to make another motion to take it out after the public hearing?
I was sitting here thinking about that.
So did we actually approve the withdrawal or using those funds?
I feel like we approved using the fund, not withdrawal.
We can, I would love another action. If that makes you feel better, that's great.
No, I think that's a good idea.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I feel better about it.
Okay. MJ's gonna make a motion right now.
If I can find his dollar
It's
amount.
right here.
Thank you. I will make a motion to withdraw $2,264,738 from the Lebanon School District Capital Reserve Fund for building and renovations for the Mount Lebanon School Project, as it was approved at the 5/24/22 board meeting.
Okay, can I get a second? Okay, seconded by Mary. Is there any additional discussion? This one, we've discussed it.
Do we really want to give it to them?
Yep, we do. All right. All those in favor of the withdrawal? Yes, okay, good, unanimous, excellent.
For clarity, we've already paid the bills, so this is reimbursing us.
Reimbursing ourselves.
Talk to Congress about how well that works out.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you all for getting your board self-evaluations done on time. Excellent work, everyone. Those will be collated, and we'll be talking about them in either our March or an April meeting, because we will be making goals during that time, so that following our new timeline. Important dates and district announcements. The municipal, also I wanted to say thank you to all those who attended the candidate night last night, both in person and on Zoom. There were lots of great questions and lots of good participation, so thank you to everyone in the community for doing that.
Do we know if there's going to be a recording available?
I believe there is going to be a recording, it's just not yet. And I won't swear to it because it's not my tech, but I do believe that there is.
I'm assuming that the city system must have recorded
Well,
it.
it's not, as Sean has told us, this is not an official city meeting, so I don't know if it did. So I believe that we said that it was going to, but I don't know for sure. So, municipal elections are Tuesday, March 12th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Please vote. And the next school board meeting will be Wednesday, March 20th, 6:30 p.m. at the LMS cafeteria.
And will we acknowledge Lisa at that time?
Yes. 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 All those, can I get a motion for the end of this meeting, unless there's anything else that anybody would like to bring up? No? Who wants to make the motion? Our motioner for end of the meeting is gone now.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
All right, MJ, make a motion to adjourn. Second by Mary. All those in favor? Great, thank you very much.